A desire dormant for 12 years awakened again. In the sweat-soaked pepper field. When Sora bent down between the pepper plants, Min-jun's gaze naturally flowed to her waistline and back. The desire that had been sleeping for 12 years awakened again. And his heart pounded wildly. That day, Min-jun's life was completely turned upside down in the pepper field. At 58, who would have known that a day when he simply needed help would become the day that awakened the burning desire that had been asleep for 12 years. Before we begin the story, please subscribe and like, thank you. The scorching August sun was beating down on the mountain pepper field in Gangwon province. As if to burn it, Min-jun straightened his back, and wiped the sweat from his forehead with a deep sigh. Looking at the field endlessly lined with bright red peppers ready to burst, his chest filled with frustration. How can I handle this wide field all by myself? Min-jun's thick rough fingers trembled. It had already been 12 years since he lost his wife Soo-yeon to cancer. During that time, he thought that women had been completely erased from his life. He had lived by desperately soothing the unbearable loneliness that came every night, and the primal desire he felt as a man with alcohol and work. But when he lay alone in bed late at night, his heart would ache missing his wife's warm embrace, his wife's soft skin, her warm breathing. And those hot moments of making love tormented him. Even in his dreams. It was exactly 8 a.m., time for the worker to appear. Min-jun was expecting a robust man in his 20s to come. As the labor agency director had said, it was desperately needed help for the pepper harvest that he couldn't possibly handle alone. But the footsteps coming from below the mountain path were different from what he expected. They weren't the heavy, dull footsteps of a man, but light and cheerful steps. Min-jun tilted his head and turned his gaze. Hello. At that moment, Min-jun's heart fluttered. It was the first time in 12 years he'd heard a woman's sweet voice. What appeared before his eyes when he turned his head wasn't a young man, but a beautiful 52-year-old woman, more stunning than he could have ever imagined. Min-jun's breath caught at the sight of her wearing a white t-shirt and blue jeans. Her black hair falling to her shoulders fluttered gently in the morning breeze, carrying a subtle shampoo scent. Deep in Min-jun's chest, something that had been frozen solid for 12 years began to slowly melt. Her white neckline was dazzling, and her feminine figure showing through the shirt captivated his gaze. I'm Park Sora, here as a worker. Please take care of me. Sora greeted him, politely with a bright smile. Min-jun's heart pounded as her lips parted slightly, revealing her white teeth. It was truly amazing that a woman's smile, seen after such a long time, could be this beautiful. Oh, but will you really be okay? Picking peppers isn't easy work. You have to bend over all day long. Min-jun tried to hide his flustered feelings and made a worried expression. In fact, deep in his heart, excitement was welling up at the thought of this beautiful woman working beside him all day. Don't worry. I've been doing farm work since I was young in the countryside. I'm used to this kind of work. Sora answered in a confident voice, and began skillfully putting on the gloves she had brought. Watching her white fingers slip into the gloves, Min-jun unconsciously gulped, watching Sora's back as she headed toward the pepper field. Min-jun's gaze naturally moved to her figure, her hips and waistline wrapped in jeans swayed softly with each step. Min-jun felt his body suddenly getting hot. Despite being 58 years old, his instincts as a man were awakening. The desire that had been sleeping for 12 years was slowly raising its head. 30 minutes had passed since they started picking peppers together. Sora's hand movements were really skillful. She actually picked the peppers, faster and more accurately than Min-jun. Each time she bent down to pick peppers, her shirt lifted slightly, revealing her white waist and back. Min-jun stole glances at her, his heart pounding. It was the first feeling he'd experienced since losing his wife. Guilt and an irresistible attraction at the same time confused his heart. Wow, you've already picked this much? You're really fast. Min-jun admired the peppers Sora had picked with genuine amazement. But right then, the sight of Sora straightening up and wiping the sweat from her forehead completely captivated Min-jun's attention. The way she wiped her forehead and neckline with a white handkerchief was so feminine. Her sweat-dampened clothes clung slightly to her body, making her feminine curves even more pronounced. Min-jun's breath caught for a moment. Despite being 58 years old, masculine desire began to burn like flames deep within his body. The longing for a woman that he had forgotten for 12 years came back to life in an instant. It's hot, isn't it? The weather is really stifling today, Sora said while wiping her sweat. Her voice had a slight breathlessness mixed in, and that sound rang sweetly in Min-jun's ears. He was worried that his heartbeat was pounding so loudly that Sora might hear it. Throughout the morning, the two picked peppers without speaking. But even in the silence, they were strongly aware of each other's presence. Whenever their hands brushed, or their bodies came close, they both momentarily froze. Min-jun was especially completely captivated by Sora's scent. Her unique scent mixed with the smell of sweat, and the subtle fragrance of shampoo and lotion stimulated his nose. Every time it was carried on the wind, that scent was completely different from his wife's scent from 12 years ago. When lunchtime came, Sora took out the lunch box she had prepared. I prepared for two just in case. Would you like to eat together? I prepared too much to eat alone. When Sora opened the lunch box, the spicy and refreshing smell of kimchi stew hit his nose. Side dishes carefully prepared appeared: egg roll, stir-fried anchovies, and cucumber salad. Min-jun's nose stung at the smell of food touched by a woman's hands for the first time in 12 years. He felt a tightness in his chest as he remembered the caring meals his wife used to make. This looks really delicious. It feels like it's been so long since I've seen such caring home-cooked food. Min-jun's voice trembled slightly. Sora looked at him with warm eyes and scooped up food to give him. Eat a lot. You're doing hard farm work, so you need to eat heartily. Min-jun's chest warmed at Sora's gentle voice and consideration. It felt like a dream to be receiving the warm care of a woman that he had forgotten for 12 years. The moment he took the first spoonful, Min-jun's eyes moistened. He could fully feel the deep flavor and care in the kimchi stew. It was a warm and comforting taste, just like his mother's cooking. It's really delicious. You're an amazing cook. You're too kind. It's just food I always make at home, Sora answered with a shy smile. The way her cheeks turned slightly red was so adorable to Min-jun. During their meal together, a strange current flowed between them. Every time their eyes met, there was a subtle emotional exchange, where they would slightly look away, but then look back again. Do you not have any family? Sora asked cautiously. Min-jun was silent for a moment, then slowly opened his mouth. I lost my wife 12 years ago. It was cancer. I've been living alone since then. Deep sadness was evident in Min-jun's voice. Sora looked at him with sympathetic eyes. I also lost my husband 5 years ago. It was a car accident. Both of them held the pain of losing their spouses. That shared grief brought them even closer together. Throughout the afternoon, they worked naturally in sync with each other. When Sora struggled, Min-jun would lift the heavy pepper boxes. And when Min-jun was thirsty, Sora would hand him cool water. As these small considerations accumulated, their hearts gradually grew closer. Min-jun increasingly fell for the warmth that Sora's presence brought. Every time she smiled, every time she talked to him, his heart pounded like in his youth. Around 5 p.m., as the sun was setting toward the western mountains, Sora said while picking the last pepper, "Can I come again tomorrow? There are still so many peppers left to pick." Min-jun's chest swelled at those words. His whole body trembled with anticipation at being able to see her again tomorrow. The excitement and anticipation he had forgotten for 12 years rushed in all at once. "Of course. You were really helpful. I'll ask you again tomorrow." Joy that was hard to hide was evident in Min-jun's voice. Sora must have felt his feelings too, as she smiled brightly. "Then I'll see you at the same time tomorrow." As Sora put on her bag and turned around, Min-jun suddenly gathered courage and spoke. "Sora, you worked really hard. Thanks to you, the work was much easier. I also enjoyed it. I had such a rewarding day after a long time." Min-jun's heart grew even warmer at Sora's sincere answer. Watching her back as she went down the mountain path, Min-jun felt hot emotions surging deep in his chest. That night, Min-jun couldn't fall asleep for a long time. Even lying in bed, Sora's image kept coming to mind. Her bright smile, sweet voice, and beautiful movements. For the first time in 12 years, Min-jun's body was filled with hot desire. He was feeling such an intense attraction to a woman. He tossed and turned in bed, imagining Sora. Her gentle touch. Her warm embrace. It was the first time since losing his wife that he so desperately waited for the next morning to come. Min-jun woke up at 5 a.m., showered, and shaved cleanly. For the first time in 12 years. He was paying attention to his appearance. But fate was preparing a trial he hadn't expected. At 8:15 that morning, it wasn't Sora who appeared, but a rough-looking man in his mid-40s, named Lee Chol-soo. He bluntly informed him that Sora had been reassigned to another farm. Min-jun's chest sank with a sense of emptiness. How could he feel so empty and desperate after just one day? The reunion he had dreamed of all night had turned to nothing in an instant. That afternoon, through his village junior Young-ho, he learned that Sora was at Bang Farm. The moment he heard that the farm owner there treated female workers poorly, Min-jun couldn't stand it any longer. When he drove his truck for nearly an hour along the winding mountain road and arrived at Bang Farm, the scene Min-jun witnessed was far more terrible than he had expected. In one corner of the yard, Sora was trembling with her head down in front of the farm owner. Her white shirt was dirty with mud, and her hair was disheveled. Tear stains and despair lingered on her face. Farm owner Park was staggering drunk, circling around Sora. As his dirty, rough hands tried to touch Sora's hand, she trembled all over and stepped back. "It's so nice to have such a pretty thing come to work. Even with age, a woman is still a woman. Nice figure too." Min-jun's hands clenched into fists, as the farm owner looked Sora's body up and down, and clicked his tongue. "Why don't you stay at my place tonight? What does a woman who lives alone have to be afraid of? I'll treat you well." At the farm owner's vulgar and sleazy words, Sora trembled even more. She tried to step back, but behind her was a warehouse wall blocking her way. I really need to go home. My family is waiting for me. Sora lied in a trembling voice. But the farm owner sneered and came even closer. Don't lie. I know you live alone. I heard everything from the labor agency. The moment the farm owner tried to grab Sora's hand, Min-jun's anger exploded. What are you doing here? Min-jun's low, threatening voice cut through the air and echoed. The farm owner turned around in surprise. And Sora shed tears of relief the moment she saw Min-jun. Her legs gave out so much that she had to lean against the wall. Min-jun couldn't stand that this delicate and beautiful woman was being treated so disgustingly. Who are you? Coming to someone else's farm and interfering? The farm owner shouted in a drunken voice. But his voice was mixed with confusion. He was intimidated by Min-jun's threatening presence. Min-jun slowly approached the farm owner. Each of his steps carried a threat. This person is supposed to work at my farm. I'm taking her right now. At Min-jun's firm tone, the farm owner stepped back, but continued to mutter drunkenly. Why would you want to monopolize such a pretty worker? You probably won't even pay her properly. If she's nice to me, I can give her more. The moment the farm owner looked at Sora again, with a dirty smile, Min-jun couldn't hold back any longer. Min-jun roughly grabbed the farm owner's collar and pushed him against the warehouse wall. It was so forceful that the farm owner's feet slightly lifted off the ground. Ah, what are you doing? Get lost! The farm owner shouted in panic. But Min-jun's eyes were cold and firm. If you ever talk to her like that again, I won't let it go. Got it? Min-jun's voice was low. But the anger contained within completely subdued the farm owner. Okay, I got it. When the farm owner spoke in fear, Min-jun pushed him aside and approached Sora. It's okay. You're safe now. Min-jun said gently while taking Sora's hand. Her hand was trembling coldly. Min-jun, thank you so much. I was scared. I was really scared. Sora leaned into Min-jun's embrace and burst into tears that she had held in all day. Min-jun hugged her even tighter. Everything's okay now. I'll protect you. On the way home, Sora said cautiously. Min-jun, if it's okay with you, could I rest at your place tonight? I want to change out of these dirty clothes. And my mind hasn't settled yet. Min-jun answered without hesitation. Of course it's okay. Come to my place and rest well. When they arrived at Min-jun's house, Sora said she would take a shower in the bathroom. Min-jun carefully took out the cleanest and prettiest white dress from his wife's wardrobe, and placed it in front of the bathroom. It felt awkward at first to have another woman wear his wife's clothes that he hadn't touched for 12 years. But he felt that if it were Sora, his wife would gladly allow it. Soo-yeon, I'm sorry. But this woman is really special. Min-jun said in his heart to his deceased wife. When the sound of the shower started, Min-jun sat on the living room sofa but couldn't possibly sit still. His feelings were complicated. Anticipation, tension, and a bit of guilt were all mixed together. Beyond that door was Sora. And Min-jun's imagination began. These feelings he was experiencing, for the first time in 12 years, were both confusing and exciting. Despite being 58 years old, his heart was pounding now like a man in his 20s. While the water continued to run, Min-jun repeatedly got up from the sofa, went to the kitchen, and came back to the living room. His mind was completely filled with thoughts of Sora. Min-jun's chest grew hot. The feelings as a man that he had completely forgotten after losing his wife were coming back to life. He went to the window and looked at the night sky. trying to calm his mind. But the sound of water that kept coming stimulated his imagination. Calm down, Min-jun. You can't be too hasty. But he couldn't stop the emotions. He had forgotten for 12 years from exploding in an instant. Sora's beautiful image kept coming to mind. When the water stopped, Min-jun became even more anxious. His whole body grew hot thinking that she must be drying herself now. I shouldn't be like this. Min-jun tried to calm himself, but it wasn't easy. After 30 minutes, the sound of the bathroom door opening was heard. Min-jun felt his heart pounding as if it would burst. Min-jun, thank you for lending me the clothes. Sora's voice came from the hallway. At that moment, Min-jun slowly turned around. Sora, wearing the white dress, was walking into the living room. Min-jun's breath caught for a moment. Her wet hair flowed moistly over her shoulders. And her face, flushed after the shower, was beautiful like a candle. The white dress wrapped her figure even more elegantly. She's truly beautiful. Min-jun admired in his heart. Sora was 52 years old. But right now she was more captivating than any young woman. Sora also felt Min-jun's gaze. The hot emotion in his eyes made her embarrassed. But at the same time, she was regaining her confidence as a woman. A man is looking at me like this for the first time in 5 years. Sora's heart pounded. Min-jun's gaze seemed to embrace her entire body. The clothes really fit well. Thank you for lending them to me, Sora said with a shy smile. Min-jun was speechless for a while, just looking at her. They really suit you well. At Min-jun's sincere compliment, Sora's cheeks turned even redder. Receiving Min-jun's hot gaze, she felt again the charm as a woman that she had forgotten for a long time. It's been really long since I've seen such a beautiful sight. An indescribable tension flowed between the two. Min-jun was completely captivated by Sora's appearance after her shower. And Sora's heart also pounded receiving such a gaze. This tension continued even while preparing dinner together. Cooking rice and preparing side dishes together seemed like a couple who had lived together for a long time, but at the same time, there was also the excitement of lovers meeting for the first time. It's really nice sitting the table together like this. I feel this warmth after such a long time. At Sora's sincere words, Min-jun also nodded. Me too. It's been 12 years. While eating dinner, the two shared deep stories with each other about the loneliness and pain each had experienced, and hopes for the future. Min-jun, thank you so much. If you hadn't saved me today, then don't say it. I just did what was natural. Min-jun carefully held Sora's hand. She also held his hand tightly without refusing. As the night deepened, their feelings also deepened. While sitting side by side on the living room sofa talking, they gradually grew closer. Sora. Min-jun called her name in a trembling voice. Sora looked at him with deep eyes. Yes, Min-jun. How do you feel when you look at me? At Min-jun's cautious question, Sora hesitated for a moment. And then answered honestly. My heart pounds. I'm feeling these emotions for the first time since losing my husband. It's scary but also exciting. At Sora's confession, Min-jun's heart beat even faster. His voice also trembled. I feel exactly the same. My heart has been strange since I first saw you. The feelings I had completely forgotten for 12 years came back to life. The two looked at each other and confirmed they felt the same way. Min-jun carefully reached out his hand and gently touched Sora's cheek. The feeling of her soft, warm skin against his palm was thrilling like electricity. Min-jun's heart pounded. Sora felt the same way. At the warm touch of a man, For the first time in 5 years, she was rediscovering herself as a woman that she had forgotten. Their faces gradually came closer. The moment they were close enough to hear each other's breathing, time seemed to stop. At that moment, their lips carefully met. Min-jun felt as if electricity was flowing through his entire body. A woman's soft, warm lips that he felt for the first time in 12 years felt like a dream. Hot emotions surged deep in his chest. I feel sorry to my wife, but I can't stop these feelings, Min-jun muttered in his heart. Guilt and excitement rushed in at the same time. But Sora's soft lips made him forget all of it. Sora felt the same way. She was confused between longing for her husband and new love. But Min-jun's warm embrace seemed to melt away all the loneliness of 5 years. To be able to feel these emotions again. Sora's chest grew hot. Despite being 52 years old, she was excited now like a girl. After the first kiss ended, the two looked at each other, catching their breath. Min-jun's eyes were filled with hot passion, and Sora's cheeks were tinged rose-colored. Min-jun's heart was complicated. Longing and excitement, guilt and passion were mixed together. But the moment Sora's body warmth was conveyed, all worries disappeared. Sora also buried her face in his broad, solid chest and deeply breathed in the scent of a man. It was a different scent from her husband's, but it made her even more excited. Her heart that had been frozen for 5 years was slowly melting. The two held each other like that for a long time. Without words, their hearts were conveyed to each other. The loneliness that each had endured alone for 12 and 5 years completely disappeared in this moment. Min-jun gently stroked Sora's hair. The shampoo scent mixed with her unique scent stimulated his nose. Your scent is so nice. When he whispered, Sora's heart pounded even more. Can we go to the bedroom? Min-jun asked cautiously. His voice contained both desperation and trembling, at the same time. Sora hesitated for a moment. But the moment she saw his warm eyes, all hesitation disappeared. Yes. At her small answer, Min-jun's chest pounded as if it would burst. The two held hands and headed to the bedroom. Even while walking down the hallway, they held each other's hands tightly. It was as if letting go would wake them from a dream. When they opened the bedroom door and entered, soft lighting greeted them. Moonlight came through the window, mysteriously illuminating the bedroom. The two stood in front of the bed looking at each other. Min-jun took Sora's hand and sat on the edge of the bed. And he looked deeply into her eyes and said, "It's really okay. I'll go slowly." Sora's heart grew even warmer at his considerate words. It's been a long time for me too. I'm nervous. At Sora's honest confession, Min-jun held her hand even tighter. I feel the same way. At his sincere words, Sora smiled slightly. The tension seemed to ease a little. Min-jun carefully lowered the dress straps on Sora's shoulders. She was embarrassed but didn't stop him. You're beautiful, Min-jun said sincerely. 52-year-old Sora's body was still beautiful. There were traces of time. But even that was her unique charm. Sora's chest grew hot. She had been embarrassed about her aging body. But at Min-jun's sincere words, she regained confidence. You're handsome too, Min-jun. Sora unbuttoned his shirt one button at a time with trembling hands. 58-year-old Min-jun's chest was still broad and solid. The two lay side by side on the bed. Under the moonlight, each other's bodies glowed softly. Min-jun slowly and gently touched Sora's soft skin. Her neckline. As his touch went down her shoulders and arms, Sora's whole body trembled. It's been 5 years. Feeling like this. Sora thought to herself. Min-jun's unique touch, different from her husband's, was awakening her entire body. Ah! Sora let out a small moan. At that sound, Min-jun's chest grew even hotter. It feels good. When she whispered, Min-jun caressed her even more gently. Min-jun's chest swelled with emotion. The desire as a man that he had completely forgotten. After losing his wife was coming back to life. Sora also slowly caressed his broad chest. The feeling of rough male skin against her palm was thrilling. Min-jun? Sora called his name and looked at him. Her eyes were filled with love and desire. Sora, I love you. Min-jun confessed sincerely. At that moment, the two became completely one. It was love shared between a 58-year-old man and a 52-year-old woman. But their passion was no less than young lovers. Rather, because they knew both the bitter and sweet taste of life, it was even deeper and more genuine. Ah, Min-jun! Sora called his name and trembled. She felt like crying at the complete fulfillment. In Sora's warm embrace, he felt alive again. I love you. I really love you. The two whispered the same words while holding each other tightly. Even after the intense feelings slowly subsided, the two didn't let go of each other. Their sweat-dampened bodies cooled as they only felt each other's warmth. It really feels like a dream. Sora buried her face in Min-jun's chest and said in a small voice, "Me too. I didn't know something like this would happen to me again." Min-jun answered while holding her even tighter. His voice was full of gratitude. "Min-jun, I really love you. Let's be together forever." At Sora's confession, Min-jun's chest swelled with emotion. "I love you too. Let's get married." At Min-jun's proposal, Sora shed tears and nodded. That night, the two held each other until dawn, talking about their future life together. It was a late love found at 58 and 52. But it was a more certain and genuine feeling than ever before. A month later, the two had a small but warm wedding at the village community center. The fateful encounter that began in the pepper field bore beautiful fruit. After marriage, the two farmed together and had time to confirm each other every night. They are living happily, proving that love can continue even as they age. Thank you to everyone who listened to this beautiful late romance until the end. If you enjoyed my video, please subscribe and like. And I'll come back with more touching adult romance stories. May your lives be filled with love and happiness.